I hope you all are having a wonderful new year. 2026 just started, and I would love to introduce you guys to some fun things you can do with all the gift cards and gifts you've received from your loved ones. Yes, I want to get you to spend all your money on cool hack and slash games. So today's video is all about taking you to the old and vast world of hack and slash action games, with the most recent installment being Ninja Gaiden 4. But we will get to that at another time. We have to go back all the way through time, through all these tabs to land on the very first one that ever came out. Onimusha. Yes, despite popular belief and the fact that this is just Resident Evil with sword, that's untrue. While it is played like a Resident Evil with swords, you into tight corridors with fixed camera angles and blah blah blah, yada yada yada, this game was actually the main prototype to hack and slash games, with the first one coming out, which is not Onimusha Warlord, but if you want to access the Onimusha series and play the very first installment of what hack and slash games were to become after this one immediately, Onimusha is the greatest place to start, with a new installment coming out soon too. And they reimagined all the Onimusha games. Well, besides two of them, but we shall not talk about the rest of those before I get in trouble. As you can see, they've updated the things with modern controls as well, so you don't have to play clunky back forward anymore. You can actually just control like a normal thing, which makes the game extremely easy, to be fair. But the first Onimusha has been remastered, and the second one has remastered. The third one, we'll see, and Dawn of Dreams, we'll see. But for now, quench your thirst with the father of hack and slashes. Yes, the one that it actually is the father of hack and slashes. You kill demons in this, collect orbs, you upgrade, use different weapons. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like Devil May Cry? Well, it is, because that's where Devil May Cry originated from in the first place. And a little bit of RE. But with that being said, Onimusha also has a new installment coming very, very soon this year. Way of the Sword, Onimusha. This is a modern title that's going to come out. It's revitalizing the franchise with a new title which the modern audience really enjoys playing updated versions of classic games. So it's a good way to bring back the fans that have been long dead by now and get some new audiences on the franchise. Now, Way of the Sword is more traditional modern. That means you have your button inputs that are used to with the parry and just frame dodges and such and such and such, but all the old mechanics are also back, such as Easons. And Eason has many, many different forms. You also have different weapons, but not in the form of weapon switching. Apparently, they're abilities. You use different weapons as unique abilities that have different properties and grant you different things. Different orbs as well. You still have your only gauntlet, you still do your regular Onimusha stuff. It's just not fixed camera angle and it's not Resident Evil feeling. Onimusha is a game that started it all. It spawned Devil May Cry 1, which Kamiya-san took in a very, very different direction from what it was supposed to be. And with that said, let's segue straight into the known father of hack and slash games. The Devil May Cry franchise began in 2001. It started the genre of hack and slash officially with this installment. It wasn't even called hack and slash back in the day, it was just called an action game. And with that said, this game, this character, is everything that is early 90s, early 2000s. Dante is very much your carefree, badass, I don't care but I care type of action hero. And it shows in what he does. And if you want to start by playing this, I would say get Master Collection. That's a different game. Get the collection. Get the HD collection of Devil May Cry. It is available on PS3. It's available on PS4 and on PC. You can get all three games in arguably their best version. Arguably, I say, with better controls, especially in the DmC 1's case. And you get to experience Dante's journey throughout what made him the legend he is today, which he is an amazing legend. And his badass brother Virgil, which tends to be more famous than him. He's not. Dante's still more famous, but Virgil is second, easily. Now, DMC's is fully weapon switchable, style switchable, You have multiple costumes, you have multiple game modes, you have parries, you have just guards, you have everything. You have everything in this game you could ever ask for. Badass enemies, insanely funny and cool one-liners, and very memorable bosses. And all that gets amplified after you play 1, sit through 2, respectfully sit through 2. I know people like to hate on that game, but that game, for a 6-month development cycle game, that game feels amazing to play. So please appreciate DMC2 for what it is. And DMC3, which is arguably the best hack and slash game ever created still to this day. And with that, those all get amplified by Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition and Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, which are the most complete version of both of those titles. You have most likely played these and definitely most likely have heard of these two games. These are the most modern hack and slash games we have, and they are the best of their kind in the modern time frame. There's a lot of games that finally revitalized the hack and slash genre in the late 2008, because the hack and slash genre was, by all means, dead ever since 2012. There are good reasons for that, because Japan more mainly tried to focus on westernizing most of their franchises, which ended up hurting them because the Western fan base did not want Western games from Japan. They wanted Japanese games and Japanese themes from Japan, which is something to this day they seem to struggle to understand. But that being said, DMC5 is a fantastic game. It's arguably my favorite modern generation and previous generation game. So definitely give it a try. And with that out of the way, we're going into the second game that set this genre in motion in a proper way. It was Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden is very unique. This game was very different in its approach to combat. It didn't play like one man against the world. It played like a fighting game. One character versus many enemies. You have to play it footsie-like. You have to play it very specifically. Wait for something to do something, and then counter it and react to it. So it is very much fighting game-like in that matter. Ryu Hayabusa is very well known, but the franchise of Ninja Gaiden is kind of still niche, if you believe it. Surprisingly, people have heard of it, but people tend to not play it. It's not as big as Devil May Cry. It's not as big as other action games, but it is arguably the second best in the genre. I'll gladly say that with my chest out, because Ninja Gaiden is very unique in what it does. Its approach to combat is very unique. And if you want to play this game and experience every single title in the Master Collection, which compiles of Ninja Gaiden 1, Ninja Gaiden 2, and Ninja Gaiden 3. Ninja Gaiden 2's version is the Sigma version, which not a lot of people are a fan of because the enemies are very relentless in that game, and the balancing is kind of annoying with how much damage you take. Ninja Gaiden 1 is the Sigma version of it in the Master Collection, which there's a split between Sigma and Black version of Ninja Gaiden 1. People prefer different ones, but both versions have a lot of content in them, so it's not as diverse as OG Ninja Gaiden 2, Sigma 2, or Black 2. And as far as Ninja Gaiden 3 goes, there's only one edition worth playing, and that is the Razor's Edge edition. That game, being this one you see on screen, has multiple characters and arguably Ryu's vastest arsenal of moves. Not the most amount of weapons, but he definitely has enough strength to cover a whole fighting game all by himself. Now, NG4 came out this year. Well, technically last year by now. But NG4 has been the most divisive video game that has come out in the franchise of hack and slash. A lot of people wanted this game to come out, and a lot of people didn't want this game to come out because they didn't like the fact that Platinum got their hands on this game. However, the game is still one of the most fun hack and slash games that you can ever have the honor to play. One reason for that being is that it completely lands every note of a hack and slash. The free combat, the powerfulness of your character, the fact that you actually do manage a full room of extraterrestrial beings, demons, and such by just being a guy with a sword. Which is the main topic of hack and slash games, the fact that it's just one entity against the world. And NG4 does it perfectly. Now, this game will have a DLC later down the line, so if you want to play it in its full potential, I would suggest waiting till the DLC comes out and the game goes on a good sale. You will get a best experience and your money's worth big time if you do that. If you want to play the Master Collection, Master Collection thankfully is on everything. You can play it on Xbox, you can play it on PlayStation, you can play it on PC. I think it even is on Switch. But if you want to play the OG versions of Ninja Gaiden, sadly you have to resort to your Xbox 360 and its library. Well, not necessarily the 360. I think you can access the most of the 360 library on other Xbox consoles. So, if you have an Xbox, you can possibly play all the OGNGs, which have different experiences than what the Master Collections editions provide. With that being said, give this franchise a chance if you haven't. Moving on to the next one, Nier Automata. Nier Automata is also a very, very unique game that came out in the midst of the genre's death. Now, this one is a little bit out of order, but I felt the need to include this one because a lot of people know the character 2B, yet most people don't know what the character 2B comes from. Nier Automata is a platinum game, yet again, made by Yoko, which is a very funny director and very unique mindset. He fully embraces the fact that he likes the female character he designs because of how pretty she looks and how expressive her personality is. And because of that, this character is very, very, very beloved across all gaming. She has arguably the most amount of collaborations in the world of video games. She's almost in every game. She's in Soul Cal, she's in Nikkei, she's in Stellar Blade, she's everywhere. 2B is even in First Descendant, which is a completely different type of game than what I just named. 2B is everywhere. 2B is everything. Yoko Taro is very open about putting this character everywhere you can. So, if you want to wonder who this character is, if you already didn't know, she belongs to Platinum Hack and Slash games. The world and the story is very heavily inspired by Evangelion. So, if you like Evangelion and you're old guy like me and you'll watch that, you're gonna like this. So, give this game a chance. This game is also a second installment. There's another Nier before it, and technically another Nier coming soon, but we'll see about that one because Avatar has been very secretive about that one. But this game has its charms. Not only it's an open world hack and slash game, it also has multiple characters, you have multiple weapons, you can fish, which is the most important thing in any video game, being able to fish. Customization, a little bit, and a little bit of a mini game. You have side-scroller segments, you have hacking segments, you have a lot of little small things you can do, as is Square Enix titles tend to be like. And with that being said, we're going back in track in time with God of War, the 2005 game. The game that was inspired by DmC and what it did to action genre's whole route throughout history. This game was... Oops, something's out of order. I forgot to search up a video on this. But God of War does not need any recommendations. It doesn't need anything. It is full of everything. If you like badass characters that rip everything to shreds, that destroy everything, that just are absolutely unstoppable, and if you like some mythology like me, God of War is your game. The sad part about the franchise of God of War is that unfortunately it is on PlayStation exclusively. It's not on PC, it's not on PlayStation, it's not on Xbox. You have to have a PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 to be able to play the God of War. Or if you want to play the OG versions of God of War 1, 2, you have to have a PS2. If you want to play God of War 3, you have to have a PlayStation 3. And if you want to play Ghost of Sparta and Change of Olympus, you need to have a PSP. Thankfully, there's a collection. There's two collections, actually. One collection has 1, 2 in it, and the other one has all 3 games in it, plus the PSP games. That one is a little bit harder to come by, but if you can get your hands on the collection, you can play it on PlayStation 3, and it has all the God of War games in it. The later installments of God of War do not fall directly into the hack and slash franchise. They do kind of fall into the Souls-like genre more often, with the camera being the way it is, targeting works, but they're still fun games nonetheless. But if you are looking for strictly hack and slash games, God of War set its own signature upon the franchise and the genre. What God of War did was created a subgenre of hack and slash that plays very differently from your traditional Devil May Cry, Ninja Gaiden, and Bayonetta. But we haven't even got to Bayonetta. So, before we get there, there's another game that you might have seen earlier. Dante's Inferno. Dante's Inferno is God of War-like, by any means. It is very much God of War-like. It is heavily God of War inspired, and unfortunately, it came out when God of War released. The one problem this game has is that it came too close to God of War 3's release. God of War 3 was a massive game when it came out in 2010. It had a lot of things going on for it. It was pushing the PS3 to its absolute limits with graphical improvements and mechanics and just absolutely visual effects. And this game, sadly, because it was in the shadow of God of War, not a lot of people gave it a shot. However, Dante's Inferno is a very, very unique game. Much like God of War and its mythology about the Greek mythology, the Dante's Inferno's title is mostly focused on religious mythology. You fight in hell. You are a Templar Knight. It is mostly religious stuff. He has the sight that belongs to death itself because he rejected death. But I will not go into the story because I don't want to spoil it. Unfortunately, this game is very hard to get your hands on. It is not sold on any online stores fronts, as far as I know, so your best chance is possibly finding the physical copy at your local GameStop or any other store you have, or trying to go on eBay or Amazon to see if you can snatch a copy. It is 100% worth playing it because not only it's a very unique hack and slash game, it also is a very few that has a scythe wielder in it. That is a big deal, people. That is a big deal having a scythe wielder. But that being said, Dante's Inferno is a game you should definitely give a shot to. It is very fun. Next one being Bayonetta. Bayonetta was Kamiya's second masterpiece in the hack and slash genre. Bayonetta is a character that resembles Dante in some ways. Makes sense because Kamiya created it. Its character creation, it falls under a specific line of behavior. Now, while Dante is the male version of just being carefree but really, really caring at the same time, being dismissive but also focused on what he's doing, and not being shy about flexing his skills. Bayo falls under the same category, but instead of flexing her skills, which she does on the norm, she flaunts her personality. And I don't mean personality in quotations, I legitimately mean that she embraces the fact that she is a very attractive female. I know it's very divisive to talk about stuff like that, but as you can see, she's not ashamed to flaunt her personality. With that said, Bayo is much like DmC, but in a unique way. Not only you can weapon switch, you can also assign certain weapons to your limbs. So you can have certain weapons on your hands and you can have certain weapons on your legs. You have accessories that can completely change the way you play. And on top of that, you also have a different character. Sadly, John is just a caller, pilot swap for Bayo, but she does have unique things about her as well. Not game changing, but she does have Bayonetta is mostly about the angelic side of the Devil May Cry world. They are in the same universe, according to Kamiya, and there's a lot of references between Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, such as Enzo being the main arms dealer in both of those universes, which is the same universe. But Bayo's biggest problem comes that if you want to play anything past the first game, you better own either a Wii U or a Nintendo Switch 1 or 2. Because Bayonetta is stuck on Nintendo for the time being. So, if you want to start, I'll suggest you start with Bayo 1, because that one you can access anywhere. Now, going to another Platinum game, which is the third one we're talking about, but it's the second biggest one they've made, which is Metal Gear Rising: Revengance. This game saved the drought, the absolute disappointment that we experienced in 2012. Metal Gear Rising: Revengance was the savior to us all. This game is not your traditional Metal Gear game. This is not about Solid. This is not about sneaking around. This is not about being a single military guy. This is about a badass super cyber ninja that has modified limbs and destroys anything in his path and cuts them to pieces. And I mean that literally. Raiden actually has the capability to cut anything in the game. And we'll see that at a later time during this review, but Raiden is very unique. He doesn't play like Solid Snake, he doesn't play like anything else. He plays like a hack and slash character. He absolutely shreds everything. He has multiple weapons. He has some traditional Metal Gear qualities about him, such as sneaking around, using items and rocket launchers to destroy things, but he doesn't need it. Raiden's strength lies in the fact that he is a super cyber ninja that uses cybernetic enhancements to actually strengthen himself. So, with a high frequency blade and everything I just named, he is the perfect candidate to become a hack and slash character. And what he does is amazing. As you'll see right now, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is what rejuvenated the hack and slash genre for a while longer before it completely died. Zangetsu being one of the most unique mechanics in any hack and slash game. You slow down time, you tackle cutting your enemy down like you're making salad. Quite literally, one of the showcases was actually them cutting a watermelon because of how precise the cutting techniques were. You can cut down buildings, you can cut down pylons, you can cut down cars, and better than all of them, you can cut down your enemies to many, many small, useless pieces. And of course, you can't have a Metal Gear game without stealth. While very minor, it does decide a fate of a lot of battles if you start them off as a stealth segment or go in there balls blazing. Alright, with that said, the franchise kind of came to a stop with Metal Gear Rising. Thankfully, you can get your hands on this game anywhere, but as far as the second game goes, we don't know if it'll ever come out. I hope it does. I hope we'll get a Metal Gear Rising Revengeance 2 one time in the near future. But the biggest strength of this game is its music. It arguably has the best, if not top 2 soundtracks in the gaming industry. The music of Metal Gear Rising, especially when it comes to the vocal side of it, is very specifically catered to the universe that is Metal Gear Rising. A lot of the lyrics in it is just insane to listen to. I suggest you give it a shot. As for the game goes, definitely give it a shot. You can play it anywhere, so nothing should stop you from playing this thing. Metal Gear Rising. Now, moving on to the game that ended everybody's hopes and destroyed everybody's dreams. DmC Devil May Cry, the black sheep of Capcom's hack and slash career. This game is only there to piss off OG fans. It was disrespectful, it was all that. But if you play it like I did, and if you treat it as just a hack and slash game, if you delete the word Devil May Cry from this title, if you ignore the fact that coincidentally there's 2 characters named Dante and Virgil in this game and just completely disregard it as a coincidence, then you can enjoy this game as it's meant to be. Because Devil May Cry DmC is very unique in the way it plays. It doesn't play like a Devil May Cry game, it just replicates what a hack and slash game does. You do have weapon switching, you do have color-coded enemies, which is very specific to this game. And another game that we'll bring up later that is much better in my opinion. And you have a scythe. For the second time in the franchise, but at least you use it properly, Navon. Anyways, Osiris is possibly my favorite weapon. And as always, if you do enjoy hack and slash games, I'll highly recommend DmC Devil May Cry. The best place to play this is PS4 and Xbox. The Definitive Edition never made it to PC as far as I'm aware, so you still have to play the vanilla version of this game, which is not that fun to play compared to the Definitive Edition. Although it is slightly more stable, if I'm being quite honest. However, with that being said, it also has a DLC about Virgil, which will make you hate the fucking character as much as possible. But the good thing about the Virgil DLC was that it shaped up what the good old Virgil we all know and love forever and eternity is gameplay. The way Virgil plays in DMC4 Special Edition and DMC5 Special Edition is because Capcom, for the most part, took control of how the combat and enemy design in Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry. And because of that, this small 3-second clip at the end of this definitive trailer was a bigger impact than the rest of the 2 minutes here. There's a reason why this game did good and bad. But with that being said, moving on to the other game with color-coded enemies, Soulstice. This game is very underappreciated. If you are a hack and slash enjoyer, this game is a must-play. If you like gothic theme environments, this game is a must-play. If you like Berserk and Night, this game is a must-play. It's an insanely good game, and it kind of went under everybody's radar because they only advertised it once during the big events, and I think it was a Summer's Game Fest. This game immediately caught my eye when I first saw it, and I was waiting to play this game because it just looked like Berserk Dark Souls to me, but it ended up being a Berserk Devil May Cry. It was truly amazing. Briar is arguably one of the best female characters I've ever seen in a hack and slash, right next to Bayo. And the fact that she has a ghost sister next to her, which is really sad, but it is the companion she has, it's her sister, and they help each other go through it. So it's kind of wholesome in this very dark environment. Soulstice is a double A game, despite what it offers. It has 25 missions, it has 9 weapons you can switch between. And in this clip, I have not shown it, but there is many mechanics you can do in this game. There is color coded things you can do, platformings, and some other stuff that I will not spoil because I don't want to say everything about it. But there are some transformations in the game exclusive after the post game updates, which are out obviously. So any version of the game you buy, it has the complete version. There's no DLC for this game. You buy the product, you can play it. I strongly recommend playing this game because this is the only game that have ever made me feel nostalgic. Playing this game in 2020 made me feel, or 2021, this game made me feel like I was 7 years old again, playing Devil May Cry 3 for the first time in my life and getting destroyed. This game was very fun. It just did something to me that I don't know if it'll do to anybody else, but the premise of this game was just amazing. The story was fun to listen to. The music was an amazing mixture of techno and choir, which is insane. It's always the type of music I always wanted to listen to, but I never got the chance to even, like, nobody makes something like that. No one makes techno with choir. It's such an insane thing to do, but this game does it perfectly. So when it comes to music, extremely unique. And when it comes to just gameplay, it's really fun. Everybody that has played this game that I know has always said, I want a second game now. I hope they do a second game. And I cannot agree more. This game is amazing. It's very underrated. It's very underappreciated. So if you have a little bit of extra cash left from your holiday earnings and presents and gift cards, I will strongly suggest giving this game a shot. It is on everything. It is on PlayStation 4. It's on PlayStation 5. It's on Xbox One, I think. And it's on PC. PC and PlayStation and Xbox One should be the best place to play this game. But moving on from that one into Final Fantasy Remake and Final Fantasy Rebirth. Now, the Remake trilogy is not complete or concluded yet, but I will say that because Square Enix was in the unique position of sniping almost every OG combat director of Capcom, the Remake trilogy ended up being one of the funnest Final Fantasy games mechanically to play. There is so much things you can do mid combat. There is so many things you can learn. There's so many things you can master, and all those get amplified when you can combine them in combat, which takes a whole different set of skill and a lot of time. But it's not as demanding as you think it is. It actually is very nice towards people trying to learn it. The only downside of it being just the game has too much. The game has so much in it that you'll find yourself at a loss sometimes. You find yourself tired because there's so much stuff to do, and they're all fun. In my opinion, and I don't even think it's a hot take or anything, but this is the greatest game ever made. Not only you get all your money's worth, the amount of content and the quality they're set at is just unbelievable for today's standard. A game like this should cost you $300 if we were going, buck for buck, because the soundtrack is amazing. Umatsu-san made the soundtrack, and it's amazing. The voice acting, crazy. The animations, unparalleled. Like every dialogue, every interaction you have, all your characters are animated uniquely. They're not going through set emotions or set animations. Everything is unique to this game. And on top of that, the amount of content you get in this game is well above what any other game would charge you for even a fraction of what you can do in it. And as far as Remake goes, Remake is also falls into the same thing, but that's the thing. Remake was already worth the price, right? Rebirth was the same price, but offered 5 times more content in return. So, if you want to get into this franchise, it is a hack and slash. It is a technical hack and slash, which is a term I thought I'd never use, but it is a technical hack and slash. So, start with Remake so you can learn the story, because by all means, no spoilers, but the Remake trilogy of Final Fantasy VII is not actually a remake. It's a sequel to the OG 7 and Advent Children. But I will not elaborate further on that because there's a lot of rabbit holes I can fall into, and I don't want to do that in this short video. Hopefully short video. So, give Final Fantasy VII Remake a try and appreciate Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for what it does 10,000 times better than what Remake did. So I hope you guys will give this game a shot. I'm currently playing it because I just never get tired of it. It's like my Final Fantasy Devil May Cry 5. I never get tired of playing it. Now, going to Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 also is another game that had the privilege of Square sniping the best combat director at Capcom, which is Suzuki-san, my old boss, when I was working at Capcom on Devil May Cry 5 as a newbie. Very minor position at the time, honestly, but I contributed a lot as just out of passion, just because I wanted to work on it. I wasn't even directly involved in the Osaka team. But that aside, this game is this game shoots itself in the foot. The combat and the spectacle of the fights are so freaking good. They're so amazing that it kind of takes away from the Final Fantasy-ness of this game. You don't want to talk to NPCs. You don't want to interact with the world. You don't want to do anything. You just want to fight in this game. And that's a great thing because hack and slash games and hack and slash fans mainly just want to fight. This game doesn't have multiple weapons, but you do have multiple skill sets. The multiple skill sets actually force you to play very differently despite what you have equipped. And unfortunately, Square, with its limited tiny brain, prevented Suzuki-san from making this game what it could have been. Final Fantasy 16 was originally intended to be everything in the blender, meaning Suzuki-san wanted to give the player the ability to use all the icons at all times and all their abilities at all times. However, Square said that's going to be too demanding and overwhelming for the players that we usually get, which is strange because the target audience for this game were the older Square Enix fans that are in their mid-40s and 30s. Late 30s and mid-40s. This was the target audience for this game. That's why it resembles playing a very dark environment and just dark world. And it's like a mixture of Game of Thrones and Final Fantasy. And it's not like a hot take or anything. That's exactly what they intended to do with this. It was meant to be for the older folks at Square Enix because they realized that the majority of the Final Fantasy audience are not younger folks anymore. It's older people. They try to make a game for them, so that's why the game is this way. Now, that aside, this game's combat is insane. It has so many angles you can take on. There's so many playstyles you can approach the game with. And it has New Game Plus, so you can play it as much as you want, whenever you want. With that being said, we're going to move on to the next one because I cannot stop myself from praising this game. The combat of this game is just too freaking good. Darksiders. Darksiders is an underappreciated franchise. It is well known, but underappreciated. Darksiders was also another game that was inspired by God of War, and you can immediately tell by the look of some of the characters. War specifically here is definitely God of War inspired, but the combat of this game is very different in each iteration of the franchise. You can play this game on any console, of course, and PC, but every game is different. Darksiders 1 originally plays like a hack and slash game, much like God of War, with executions and finishes and grapples being the main thing you can do in combat, AoE control, weapon switching, of course, because a hack and slash without weapon switching is not a hack and slash game. That's an overstatement, of course. I'm joking, but still. You have war using multiple weapons, and you have death in Darksiders 2 using multiple weapons. But in 3 it's different. You have multiple weapons, but the gameplay is like a Souls-like game. But while Darksiders 1 is more a God of War hack and slash game, and Darksiders 2 being a Zelda hack and slash game because of the adventure in there, Darksiders 3 ends up being a Souls-like hack and slash game. Which is interesting. It doesn't feel like a Souls game, but it definitely follows the formula, and it's a little annoying. And it's something they try to rectify immediately after realizing that, oh, we should not have trend chase. They immediately add an update that removes a lot of the Souls-like aspects of the game and play it more like a classic style of Darksiders 1. And then you have Darksiders Genesis, which ends up playing like Diablo. You have a top view of the world, and you play as War and Strife. And Darksiders 4 seems to be around the corner. And apparently that one seems to be including all the horsemen and the fact that you can play multiplayer. So, we don't know what that future holds, but I cannot wait to see what that has. Darksiders is, by all means, one of the greatest games ever. and it needs to see the light of day very soon. Next up, and I know this is I might lose some of you here because I'm going to talk about gacha games. 2 specific gacha games. Wuthering Waves being one of the gacha games that is known to be one of the best ones ever. Due to quality of life, due to the stories, due to the characters, due to the gameplay, due to the visual, due to the world, due to a lot of factors. Now, again, I know you see gachas and you want to immediately click off. It's like, nope, I'm not playing gacha. I don't want to pay for stuff. And it's not quite like that. You don't actually ever have to spend money on a gacha game unless you really want a character. It doesn't lock you out from getting characters. You just play the game regularly whenever you like it, or every day for like a couple of minutes, and you earn a currency to pull characters and just get characters and play as. Now, this game is very vast. It is not a cash grab. It is not trying to trick you to spend on it. No, this is a full-fledged game with its own world building, with its own questing, with its own collectibles in its world, and it's open world, and you can do a lot of stuff, and it has a lot of mini games regularly coming back or new ones just being introduced. The characters are amazing, but if you want a rundown of how the game is played at an optimal level, if you're unfamiliar with how gachas usually play, you get 3 characters. One containing a DPS, second one being a sub DPS or a support, and third one being a healer and a support. Usually what you want to do is set up resources on your DPS, switch to your support, set up all the buffs with your support, then switch to your sub DPS or your sub DPS support, and then set up with them and buff up your DPS, switch to your DPS, and then just dunk all the damage with them, and then rinse and repeat. That's the most optimal way to play it. However, you can absolutely tackle any content with one character you want. The results may vary, of course, but you can absolutely, again, just get one character you really, really like and just spend the game playing on that one character and get resources on it all the time. You're not forced to pull, you're not forced to spend. It's a misconception a lot of gacha games have is that, oh, if you play gacha games, you have to spend money. You really don't. The game does more than enough to give you enough resources to get what you want in it via pulling for free. And it has a lot of cool characters. I know a lot of gacha games are just female focused and they're kind of, quote unquote gooner bait games. But with Vuva, it keeps it. I say that as a big titty elf girl just does a Mugetsu on screen. But that being said, stay with me. The male characters in this game are fantastic. They're badass and they're always good. Most games, gachas, they usually do their male characters dirty because they kind of want you to pull on the females more. Sex attracts, whatever. But that being said, this game is not like that. This game actually has a very cool roster, very emotional backstories. Unfortunately, the backstories of every gacha game consists of very depressing backstory of them being extremely messed up and having a lot of hardship. So if you're gonna get tired of that trend really, really quickly. But the first couple of times it's gonna really be touching to see. After your 20th character backstory, you're gonna be like, okay, I've heard it. But moving on to the next one. This one is in my top 2 gacha games ever. ZZZ. ZZZ is the best gacha game in my opinion. It is very charming. I know, I said charming again with this, but you know what I mean. I'm not talking about the thighs or the boobs. I'm talking about the gameplay. This is my own gameplay. This is just me playing. And the last video was by a different video. Someone else uploaded, so this one is just my gameplay. This one is I'm playing. I have all the characters in the game that's, I like. I've not spent money on it for pulling. I've spent money because I want to support certain things. Again, you don't have to. Gacha games are free-to-play games. You just have to download them and just get into it. They give you enough resources and characters to just have fun and get through the whole game as well as how you like it. And ZZ consists of, again, a 3-team character, or 3-character team. And it's pretty much the same concept as set up with your support, buff up with your healers and all that, and then dunk with your DPS. But it's less involved than Vuva is. Wuthering Wave requires you to spend a certain amount of time on your characters. In ZZZ, they want you to quick swap. So you mainly focus on the one character you really like, which is possibly your main DPS. And the great thing about this game is that the characters are very unique in this game, in the sense of their charm and backstory are very centered and on like a specific personality, if that makes sense. They're not trying to hit home with every character, with everybody. Every character has its own specific thing, so at least somebody can relate to him on a very close and personal level. Very interesting and heartwarming to see some of the interactions your main characters have with the cast of this game. The animations of this game are like they feel like it's like it feels like you're playing a Studio Ghibli video game. It is just very nice. And yes, of course, a Gunner bait game, as many people say, because of all the jiggles and all that. But that's just it's just a cherry on top to grab your eyes from certain things. And yes, of course, they need to make money, so they're trying to attract a certain group of people. But specifically for myself, I don't play the game for that. I play the game because I just love some of the things characters do. Like Miyabi being Virgil's daughter is like the biggest thing. I mean, look at the way this girl plays. She legit has judgment cuts and rapid slashes. There's a reason why people call her Virgil's daughter. She literally has a judgment cut. And that's that. And you have Jane, which is the sewer rat she is. Everybody loves her. She's very attractive. She's very seductive, so people attract to her. Again, specific archetype, right? Then you have Master Yujuan, which she is another Void Hunter tier character, which is the highest tier of fighters we have in this game, and they are quite powerful and formidable. And she is badass. And you also have the new character that came out with this patch, being not Evelyn. Evelyn is one of my favorite girls in this game. She's very classy. She's nice. But the main girl right now, so if you download the game right now, I'm not sponsored, I'm just saying, if you download the game right now with a 2.5 update, they gave out a free character, they gave out a lot of resources for you to be able to pull this character, another character, and then some for time to come, because the 2.5 updates for these are usually their biggest updates. They are very generous in how much they offer the player for them to actually enjoy the game. They're very, very generous. They're not stingy with the resources they give out, so you feel obligated to spend money. So this is another reason why this is one of my top gacha games, because it respects your time. It respects your spending. It doesn't force you or twist your arm into like, hey, if you don't pull new characters, you're not gonna be able to play the rest of the game. It's like, no, it's fully accessible all the time. But enough gachas. Let's go back to true hack and slash games. Lost Soulside came out last year. Now, Lost Soulside was a game of many people were left wanting more of, or a little bit disappointed of what it could offer. Unfortunately, I was not one of those people, or I should say fortunately. I was very happy with what I got with the game. Granted, there was a couple of things I didn't like, such as the voice acting. But as far as the length of the game goes, I think the length of the game was fantastic. I think the premise of the fighting was amazing. Sadly, I think some things were wrong with it. Day one, which was the audio, the sound effects of the hits and all that, they weren't quite satisfying, but they have gone to fix those, and holy hell. The audio and all the quality of life updates they've done to Lost Soulside are amazing. I cannot express how much they've improved this game from day one to right now. They finally did a final update for this game, so as far as I know, there's no more updates awaiting. For the time being, I don't know if they're still working on the game. I don't know if he moved on. I don't know if something else happened. But this game is done being supported for the time being. So if you want to play this and pick it up and give it a shot yourself, best time to do it. I highly recommend the game. It is very lengthy. It has many different things you can do. It does repeat a cycle of a certain go to this new world, explore the new world, get the power up, move on to the next. But each world is different enough for you to feel like I keep doing something new, following the same pattern. Now, I'll say this. This game feels very DmC inspired. And there's a reason for that. Because it is. It is inspired by the games that actually started the genre. So, I would say have an open mind going into this game, because it does have a similar... It's like a mixture of Devil May Cry and Final Fantasy combined together. Which we have a perfect game that does that, which is called Final Fantasy 16. So, Lost Soulside, definitely recommend it. I played it on stream all the way, and it was a fantastic experience, and I played it at its worst state. So if you play it now, you're going to have the best time with it. Now, that's all the games that came out. Now we're going to move on to Phantom Blade Zero, a game we are all anticipating to come out this year. Very soon, right before October starts, this game comes out. This game is inspired by Ninja Gaiden by all means, and the level design of this game is heavily inspired by Dark Souls. The director has commented that says that the design of Dark Souls fascinates him so much. He wanted to always make a hack and slash game, but with the environment of a Souls game, which is an incredible task because making a hack and slash game is very challenging because you have to make sure your characters don't fall through the goddamn floor, which is one of the hardest things to do in a hack and slash game, or any game for that fact. That's why you see a lot of flying enemies normally being tossed around all over the place because it's so hard to design enemies that stay on the ground and don't fall through it. Ninja Theory. Anyways, that being said, this game has weapon switching. This game has unique weapons that do specific things for you, like a one-hit flame or a dragon head that shoots out water. It's really cool. It has grand spectacle fights. It has brutal executions. It has parries. It has perfect dodges. It has reflex. It has everything. This game has everything hack and slash games usually have in it, all in one. So, I hope when this game comes out, the industry is not in a bad state that the game's going to cost $200. But I am very much looking forward to this game. I know you all are as well, and I will cover this game as much as I can whenever we get footage of it, especially if you get a demo. But as you can see here, not only you get to choose, different weapons to fight, you can actually steal some of the styles of the enemies you fight, like this guy. This guy you fight, you kill him, and then you can use his styles against other enemies. Look at the Drunken Swordmaster right now. He's going to use it. The parry, Q to use, of course, because classic, right? You have to have it. And the dragon thing I was talking about, I think if you kill this guy, you get his fire spitting dragon thing. It's really cool. It feels Devil May Cry-ish a little bit too. You kill your enemy, kill the demon, and they turn into a weapon for you to use. This is the dragon style, the drunken style swordmaster thing. It's pretty cool. So can't wait to play this game. Comes out again late 2026, and I will be there day one playing this game. The sad thing about it, it's exclusive on PS5. Also available on PC, not available on other consoles until at least 12 months after release date. Vertical Slant, whatever. But yeah, it's going to be time exclusive for a little bit, but eventually will come out to other devices as well. Now, the last one we're going to talk about is Tides of Annihilation. This character is voiced by the Game Awards winner. I forgot the name of it, but the main character in Clair Obscura and one of the characters in Baldur's Gate. But she has done an amazing job in the gaming industry so far. Pretty much every game she's worked on has won Game of the year after year after year. So this game is heavily inspired by Devil May Cry. Most of the actions the character does is resembling of Dante's moves. She has real impact. She has Volcano. She has a lot of moves that she does. The thing about this game is that she uses summons to actually fight, on top of the fact that she has a sword. As you can see, there's a summon fighting the boss on the other side of the thing. While the boss fights are very grand, they're also a little bit scripted, which is not something I prefer in my action games. I'd rather have complete control all the time. I don't like sitting through cutscenes. I don't like sitting through scripted animations. I like to free fight all the time. That's why I enjoy Ninja Gaiden a lot. But that's not going to take anything away from this game. This game also has weapon switching. This game also has perfect parries, perfect dodges, and perfect blocks. All that good stuff that we have to have in our action games, especially hack and slash game. And this game, we don't know when it's going to come out, unfortunately. And I don't think it's a time exclusive or exclusive at all. I think it goes on everything. But we don't know when it comes out. It supposedly is going to come out this year. But considering how big this game is and the inspiration it takes from is Final Fantasy 16 and Devil May Cry, so technically Devil May Cry 5, it might get delayed. I hope not, but it might get delayed till 2027. Now, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed all this hack and slash news dump, right? There's one game I will give a special shout out to, and that would be Castlevania Lords of Shadow. This game, this 2 game, is very underappreciated. Now, I'll say this, they're very hard to get your hands on right now on PlayStation 3 or Xbox. But these 2 games are very underrated hack and slash games. Lords of Shadow 2 suffers a little bit from doing too much in the game, like trying to have too many mini games and mini sequences that have nothing to do with fighting or discovering. And I get that it suffers from it, but the fighting in this game is really cool. So, as a special mention to end all of this off, would be Castlevania, Lords of Shadow 1 and 2. 1 is more liked, 2 is better, but also worse. So, take that with however grain of salt you want. Now, if you guys have any recommendations of yourselves, any hack and slashes that you want to recommend, any action games that you want to recommend, go ahead and recommend it in the comments. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful year, and I am very thankful to all of you who support me, who comment, who like, who share my videos even. You guys are incredibly motivating to listen to read comments, and to interact with you guys. I love interacting with you guys. And if I don't get to your comments, I'm sorry. I am trying to read all of it, but you guys are just extremely supportive, so it's hard to keep up with all of them. I don't care if you put bad comments either, as long as you're civil about it. So, swearing, obviously. Well, minimal swearing, of course. I have the last person to say that. But any recommendations you guys have, feel free to leave it in the comments. And I hope I can bring you guys more content this year. For the main part, Resident Evil 9 and Onimusha are going to be the big ones till those two come out, and then Phantom Blade, and hopefully Tides of Annihilation this year. But before all that, hopefully we'll get the DLC for Ninja Gaiden 4. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye!